Hello and welcome to the third episode of Female Founders Unfiltered. My name is Justina Cotugno and I'm your host and co-founder of Her Voice Collective. As part of our mission to uplift aspiring female business owners, we want to talk about the raw and unfiltered journey one takes to start an idea. Before I introduce my next guest, I want to mention and thank Trade License Zone for providing the platform for us to record this podcast. Trade License Zone help entrepreneurs set up their businesses in the UAE and are huge advocates for women in business. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce my next guest, who founded a health food catering and meal plan business, which has been operating across the UAE since 2016. Their motto, feel better, live longer, and make your palate happy in the process, perfectly captures the passion behind the brand. And today, certified dietitian and female founder behind it all is here to share her story. Hala, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us in the studio.
Thank you, Justina.
It's lovely to have you here.
Good morning.
So I know we spoke a little bit before, but tell me a little bit about your journey. Take me back to Hala coming out of university. Take me back a little bit.
All right. So I'm Hala Barghout, a clinical dietitian and health promoter and the founder of Color My Plate. I studied at the University of Beirut back in 2001. I did nutrition and dietetics. Back when I was in school, I was always into sports and fitness, and I loved the sciences. I was excellent at biology, chemistry, physics, and I told myself I wanted to become a scientist and do something in the sciences when I went to university. So then when I entered AUB, I applied to both biology and nutrition, and I got accepted in both. And I just decided to go for something different. So I chose nutrition and dietetics, especially because in school, I used to buy a lot of fitness and nutrition magazines. And in those nutrition magazines, I would find some healthy recipes here and there that I would actually rip off sometimes and keep so that I could possibly one day, follow. So I knew I had a passion for that. And I guess that's where the seed was planted. After finishing my undergrad in AUB, I moved back to Dubai, where my parents were, where I initially was as well, because I lived between Dubai and Beirut. And I did an 11-month internship at the government hospital to be able to obtain the dietitian license, because I did want to consult people and help them with weight management and living a healthy lifestyle, etc. So in order for me to do that, I had to get a license, a dietitian license. And I got that after 11 months, and I worked at a nutrition and diet center, which was back then similar to what Color My Plate is at the moment. And then for like 10 years, like over a decade, I was educating people on how to manage their weight and live a healthy lifestyle through food. And that's when I thought, this is something I eventually wanted to do. I noticed that there was a gap, in the market where people didn't want to just have information. They wanted real, convenient, healthy food. And that's where I thought, okay, if I were to start Color My Plate, I wanted to educate, empower, and nourish people through food and let them know that by eating healthy, you're not compromising on taste and happiness and joy. Eating healthy can be tasty and can be joyful.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
And tell me, so what makes Color My Plate different? Okay. Because the market is busy here. Yeah. We have so many meal plan companies.
It's very saturated.
Yes.
So it's not just only a meal plan company. I would call it a nutrition first kitchen.
Okay.
Yes, because we focus on quality first. Okay, all our meals are very thought into. There's a lot of intention behind. It's rooted in science. And I believe every single meal is made with healthy, high quality, fresh ingredients. And what also makes us different is that we support people with PCOS, gut issues, people trying to conceive, pre and postnatal, obviously, people who follow a vegan diet, a gluten-free, dairy-free diet. So we are mainly a meal plan that focuses on people with medical conditions. And of course, we're able to have goals such as weight loss, weight gain, etc. here and there.
And do you do these consultations yourself?
Yes.
Are you fully involved in that respect?
Yes. So if people want a one-on-one, personalized, in-depth consultation, they can book an appointment, purchase the hour, book an appointment with me and come see me for an hour. However, I have dietitians whereby we offer a 20-minute complimentary consultation, with the client, with the prospect, and my dietitians help guide them on what plan to go for before they sign up.
Okay,
And at the same
fantastic.
time, they get to know them a little bit. They get to know their backgrounds, their conditions, a bit about their lifestyle, etc.
Okay. And just to go back a little bit, tell me about your journey when you started Color My Plate.
Okay.
Were you on your own? What made you initially even think about entrepreneurship?
So initially, that was never the case. Okay. I love speaking with people. I love dealing with people, meeting people. I love helping people. And this is why I wanted to actually help people, reach their ultimate health goal by eating well and exercising, etc. Especially that this is something I, let's say, enforced onto myself. Like I ate well. I mean, after I learned a lot about nutrition, I started eating well. But of course, I used to make mistakes. I was always into fitness. So I did live a healthy lifestyle. And I wanted to kind of enforce it and inspire people to do the same. All right. So I always wanted to be a dietitian. At a certain point, I worked in the community. I did a lot of community service, whereby I worked with a company as a community service dietitian, and I went out to companies, universities, and schools, and I gave lectures and talks about nutrition and health and what to eat and what to avoid at your desk at school, etc. And then I decided to launch a company after that called NutriTalks. I did that for 2 years, but it didn't generate so much income. It required a lot of marketing here and there, and I didn't feel like I stood out so much. So then I thought maybe I should get into food, because I did what I did back in the day when I moved back to Dubai. I learned about, meals, meal plans, etc., and what works best for who. So in 2016, I outsourced certain meals and snacks, etc., through a third party, let's say catering company, and I decided to sell some healthy products at co-working spaces, gyms, small studios, etc. And this is how the idea about, getting back into meal plans started. I'm like, okay, if I want to get into food, this is not sustainable. This is not going to make me money. You pay so much money to third parties. I want to have my own kitchen. So in 2017, a dear friend of mine who also owns a company here, a catering company here, introduced me to back then who became my business partner in 2017. And this business partner, who was primarily into real estate, told me, I want to work with you. I want to invest in you. I want to give you my kitchen. Let's do this together.
Okay.
So this is where, to color my plate, let's say meal plans was inaugurated in 2017.
Amazing.
Okay.
And so in terms of your journey now, you solely own the business?
Yes.
Okay.
100%.
Okay. And since obviously we're a female-focused podcast and we like to understand how women in business operate, the intricacies, the difference of how men and women work, how did you find it working with somebody versus working on your own?
Of course, it's never easy to work with someone, especially if you guys are not aligned.
Absolutely.
Okay? And obviously, having a business partner who is a man and older than you always, makes you worry, feel like, you can't prove yourself as much or you don't know as much. Okay. And this is when I just started becoming a real entrepreneur back then. Okay. I used to be a dietitian for 10 years, let's say 10 years plus. So, working with him was great. It was an excellent stepping stone for where I am today. But the best thing about me being where I am today was actually breaking away from him back then in 2020 at the beginning of COVID to go and venture out on my own. Okay. Why was that? Because at some point after working with someone, if your philosophies are different and if you're not very aligned and the foundation is not there, it's not going to work out. You can't grow.
Totally.
I know that he had invested in my business and invested in me personally. However, this business was mine initially, and I wanted Color My Plate to grow the way I wanted to grow. Okay, I had a vision, I had a mission, I believed in certain things, and sometimes it just doesn't work out with a certain partner. It was very tough at the time. It was scary, but I feel it was necessary, and I'm very grateful for that. He's a great person. He's very dear to me still, but I felt that I had to do it in order for me to grow and start on this path where I wanted to see kind of my plate grow.
When it comes to choosing a business partner, people say it's like a marriage, isn't it? You have to be, really have to be aligned, as you said. And in business setup, we do see this all the time where people met a couple of weeks ago, we have a business idea, let's get together, let's do something. What is your advice when choosing a business partner? Yes, alignment and ethos, all of that.
Yes.
What if somebody's, thinking of partnering with somebody to start a business idea, what advice would you give them?
I mean, I feel first of all, I think you shouldn't do business with friends or people that are very dear to you.
I totally agree.
Because no matter what, any small thing can lead to you, breaking up, even as friends, know. And it gets too emotional when you work with friends. You don't want to make them angry, you don't want to make them sad, so you tend to make the wrong decisions just to please them, etc. It doesn't work that way. I have very few friends who are business partners and are friends, and I look at them and I'm like, wow, you guys are so inspiring. How could you do this? And they've been together for like 12, 13 years as business partners and friends. So I really feel if you want to start a business, let's say for me, I would have to be to be the medical side of things, and my business partner will have to maybe run the financial part, the business
really
development.
Kind of split the roles.
So exactly, split the roles. I'm in charge of this, you're in charge of that.
Right.
We make things clear. We're very aligned. As you said, it is very important to be aligned, to set the foundations at the beginning, to make sure that terms, agreements, everything is set straight from the beginning.
Absolutely.
And then you go forward.
Absolutely, I totally agree. What would you say is the most unexpected skill that you learned as a founder?
People management, hands down. Is really, really difficult to manage people. You have to manage conflicts, you have to solve problems, you have to build a culture, you have to learn to say no, you have to put boundaries, and people think that running a business is about doing what you're good at doing, but it's not about that. Really, it's about managing the people, and the more you grow, the harder it gets.
Absolutely.
But then when you hire the right people to manage this department and that department, it gets easier. So I truly believe that having the right team, hiring the right people, delegating as much as you can, and less micromanagement is the key to success.
I 100% agree. I think delegating.
Yes.
So many founders, and we spoke about this in a previous episode, where they want to take it all on themselves. This is my business, I will do this. But it's so crucial to also know what you're not good at and hire somebody for that.
Yeah, or just ask questions. Like, there's absolutely nothing wrong with asking for help.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In terms of hiring people, how did you find that? Is it something you had experience from before? How do you hire the right people for your business?
I can tell you it's my weak point.
Really?
I'm not really good at it. But for me, it doesn't require hiring a recruitment agency or things like that. You just post jobs on LinkedIn, let's say, or Indeed. I mean, with me, it's about hiring chefs, which you can find easily. Word of mouth helps a lot. So many people need jobs here in Dubai. So it's easy to just ask, get some CVs, interview, and hire. Okay.
What is your non-negotiable when you're hiring somebody? Do you have something like, this person must have this trait to fit my culture, my business?
Of course, when I hire someone, first of all, they have to be aligned and know why we do things the way we do them. Okay. This is why another setback in the past was hiring the wrong people. Okay, hiring the wrong people. Exactly, it's costly. It's a waste of time, etc. So, I guess I would say the person I would have to hire would have to be lively, bubbly, efficient, because at work we have to be efficient, and someone who understands Color My Plate, loves to work with food, and just works with love.
Passion is
passion.
Super important.
Passion,
isn't it?
exactly.
Going back a little bit, and you might say what I think it might be, but what is a failure or a setback that in hindsight was one of the best things that might have happened?
Just breaking away from my partner back in 2020, which was the scariest thing, not the easiest thing, but the best decision I made. Which allowed me to, get on this path, the path I wanted, and grow Color My Plate the way I wanted.
Okay.
However, it happened in 2020, right at the beginning of COVID, and that was an even scarier, let's say, stage in
I was about to
Color My
ask
Plate.
you, how did that work when COVID hit?
Okay, so let me tell you. Obviously, in the first 5-6 months of COVID, people were extremely scared about, let's say, disease. Like, let's say not disease. Let's say things being transferred.
Yes.
Like
with food and people
with food, touching food,
Yes.
touching the cooler bags, the drivers, etc. Obviously, right?
Yes.
So we would have to, let's say, put our meals in foam boxes that were actually disposable and use a new foam box every single day, which cost us money. Plus, foam boxes aren't the most hygienic things as compared to cooler bags, because cooler bags are insulated, they can be cleaned and washed, etc. Whereby foam boxes, you use it once, you throw it because they're placed on the floor,
Right.
etc. So for the first 4 or 5 months, obviously the number of clients dropped because people didn't want to order from outside, so they were at home cooking. But then after 5-6 months, when people just sat at home ordering food, or let's say cooking, not moving, everyone gained weight.
We were all
So
there.
after that, everyone required, food deliveries, healthy eating, etc. And that's when Color My Plate boomed.
Okay.
Actually, from 2020 to 2022, we got a splurge of clients. We grew so fast, and it was really just a blessing.
Amazing. And so on that note, whether in COVID and now, how do you deal with competitors? Because we know there's quite a lot out there.
Yes.
How do you guys work with that?
Okay, so the market is saturated, but I feel there's still room for everybody. There's room for everything and anyone, because Dubai is growing. I try not to focus so much on my competitors, but it's good to know who they are, where they are, how big they are, and how small they are. For me, my focus is literally on Color My Plate. It's good to stay true to your mission. And my eyes right now are on our plates, literally on our plates. And just I try to focus on us and growing to where, like, I see Color My Plate going.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit, Hala, about your habits and routines. And when we were exchanging notes last night, you were telling me about how you go to bed a little bit earlier, you have your own routines, and you go to the gym a lot.
Yeah.
Tell me about the habits or routines that have been essential.
Sleeping enough is so vital, and I realize when I sleep less than I do, I can't focus throughout the day.
Me too.
Even if I have this supplement and I have lion's mane and I have 3 cups of coffee, I still can't focus. So I tend to sleep around 8 to 10 hours every single day, and I love that. I'm in bed by 10:30, I'm up by 6:30. Then I go do my workout, whether it's at the gym, whether I go for a walk, whether I do a class, whether I go for a swim. So sleeping well, movement, and planning my day. Okay. Sometimes I have to take a step back and just envision how my life or days, is gonna look like, so that I don't get stuck in the grind.
Yes.
Because that's how it is. Dubai makes you get stuck.
We've all been there for sure.
So exactly, routine, I would say. Routine helps you focus, and being focused and being productive is the recipe, let's say, for success.
Speaking of Dubai, and we all know that it's a busy place. You get invited out all the time, dinner this, birthday party, or corporate events or work events. And especially in
Tell
your
me about
industry,
it.
I would imagine that
Yeah.
you probably are required to go out. Does that tend to happen? And how do you manage that is more my question.
Actually, I'm not really required to go out so much, but I do go out so that I could network.
Okay.
So that I could talk about my business, and so that I can bring in potential clients, etc. I love doing that,
Yeah.
And sometimes that's my excuse to myself. Like, why not? Let me go out. Maybe I'll meet someone who would actually become a
100%.
client, or someone I could do business with or collaborate with. So I tend to, let's say, stay at home during the week, or do minimal outings during the week and go out during the weekend and have fun. Alcohol takes a toll on me. Eating out takes a toll on me, on my food, on my sleep, etc. I'm not telling you like I'm a saint and I don't go out during the week, but let's say the first 3-4 days of the week, I'm sat at home, I cook my own dinner, or I get food from Color My Plate, I sit down, watch a movie, and I'm in bed by 10.
because this is an unfiltered podcast, tell me, how when you go out to eat, are you just as strict, or do you let yourself
not
go?
at all. No, I don't let myself go, but at the same time, I love food. I love to enjoy food. I would have a fry. I would have a chicken tender here and there. I would have, let's say, a spoon or two of dessert. I'll never say no. Obviously, when let's say I want to shed a kilo or two, I'm a bit stricter.
Of course.
But the fact that I work out, the fact that I burn calories on a regular basis, I am able to eat a little bit more and enjoy food a little bit more.
Absolutely.
But I wouldn't say like, I'll just splurge. I'll just order what I feel like having, and that would be once or twice a week.
Balance.
It's all about balance.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I have to ask you a question. Calories.
Yes.
There's been a lot of talk about it recently. There's some people saying it's a load of B. It's not worth counting them. It's all about the nutritional value. What does your opinion stand on that?
It's all about the calories.
Okay.
It's all about calories in versus calories out. I'm going to give you an example.
Okay.
What's the craze now? What's trendy now?
Oh my goodness.
What's trending?
There's so many things trending, we can't even keep up.
So many girls I know, or let's say so many people in general, men and women, are both taking fat loss injections.
Oh,
let's say
yes.
diabetes injections. They're not really fat loss, but people have been using them for weight loss.
I didn't even know that. Okay.
Yes. So let's say Manjaro, the most common one at the moment. People are injecting themselves with Manjaro once a week and taking several doses. What does Manjaro do? It suppresses appetite. You start to eat less. You lose weight. Doesn't that mean that calories matter? It does, obviously. The more you eat, the more likely you're going to gain weight. The less you eat, the more likely you're going to lose weight, right?
Absolutely.
So calories do matter, but it's also what you eat.
Of course.
Quality and quantity, both the same. You have to, if you want to lose weight or lose fat, let's say, the right way, you have to focus on calories and then look into your macros. Macros are proteins, carbs, and fats.
Okay.
And those are either decided by your nutritionist/dietitian or personal trainer if you want to lose weight the right way. Because people can be on lower calories, but they could be on like a juice diet for 30 days. They could be on a carnivore diet for 30 days, on a whatnot diet for 30 days, let's say. But do these necessarily mean they're healthy? Maybe not. They could be. Some people might think they are, but they're not sustainable.
Right.
So healthy diet, balanced meals, calorie restriction, not so much. I would say 300 to 500 calories less per day if you want to lose weight, and let's say a surplus of 500 if you want to gain weight. But calories do matter, of course.
I think there's just been a lot of talk about it, and before it was something, I know a lot of my friends calorie counting all the time. Probably I don't do it so much anymore. I'm all about I'm very conscious of what I put on my plate.
Yes.
So, the veggies, I do eat meat. So I'm very, protein super important for me. I probably don't count calories anymore at all, but I'm very careful about what's on my plate. I don't touch junk food. I don't eat any of that.
Okay. But did you learn a little bit about calories in the past for you to be able to do this right now, or no?
Not really, no. I mean, when I was younger, certainly in university days, that's all I did.
Okay.
I counted calories, because back then, that was the thing.
Yeah.
You count your calories, don't eat this, keep up to 2,000. I think that's what they say for women, right?
Yeah.
But I think when I became a mother and obviously I gained a lot of weight during pregnancy, I've learned a lot over the last 6 years about nutrition, and eating healthily is, for me, super important,
so
and my
important.
kids.
Yes, of course. Now, I mean, the question you asked me earlier about counting calories on a daily basis, no, this is not necessary.
Okay.
Obviously, you learn, you get an idea, you start eating by learning from the past, right? Obviously, everyone needs to learn about how much you're supposed to have for lunch, around, let's say, 400 or 500 calories, for dinner around 400 calories, breakfast around 300, maybe snacks in between if you need snacks, let's say a yogurt or a protein shake. But you don't have to count calories every single day. What I meant was calories are important. If you're looking to maintain a certain weight, lose or gain, you have to look at calories.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I meant.
That makes
When we gain weight, we're just eating too much, and when we lose weight, we're eating less. Food provides energy. What is energy? Calories. So you kind of have to understand a little bit about calories and not restrict yourself or eat too much.
I know you kind of talked about this a little bit already, but are there any drastic changes you made in your life? Tell us.
Becoming less of a perfectionist.
Oh, wow, okay.
I'm always like
Help me,
perfectionism.
I'm still there.
Perfectionism. You don't have to focus on that. I think right now I have to prioritize action and not overthink. I overthink too much about everything. Okay.
Work and personal?
Work and personal. Yeah, work and personal. So I think by being less of a perfectionist and focusing on the action and doing the action, prioritizing what you want to do and doing it instead of overthinking and thinking of how it would have been or how it could have been or what if, is something important, you know.
Okay.
It's just, it kind of relieves some stress when I tend to like think less and just, it's fine, things are gonna flow. Don't worry about it, let it go, you know, and you learn from it.
Absolutely. I think it's a lot of women will definitely resonate with this.
Yeah.
It's especially the perfectionists. I can vouch for that.
Yeah.
It's really, really difficult.
Yeah.
Finding, whether it's at work, finding the smallest little errors in every bit of work you do, which is just exhausting.
It's exhausting.
And
it's annoying draining to your staff and
yourself. I annoy myself eventually. I really do.
Exactly.
So it's finding it how to let go, and it's not easy. Hala, let's talk about burnout. Many people experience it. Maybe you have. Tell us, how does one handle burnout?
Because I still don't have a family, it's easy for me to do the things I want to do whenever I want to do them. So I tend to, let's say, try to be in nature, go on walks, and travel. So travel is how I deal with burnout mainly. Okay, I try to travel as often as I can, whenever I can, of course. You know, being an entrepreneur and a founder, there's never the right time or the perfect time to pack up and leave. You're always thinking about, what if it's not the right time? I'm busy. I have to do this. I have to do that. But obviously, if you stay in that routine, you're going to end up burning out, right? So I truly believe that taking time for yourself,
self-care.
I wouldn't like keep saying the word nature, because in Dubai there's not much you can do, unfortunately. However, it does provide, you know, like you still can go to the mountains when the weather is nice,
the seaside,
which I do a lot. I live on the beach, so I do a lot of beach walks. I go for a swim. I go on, let's say, walks as well, like on the track by the beach. And in winter, I tend to go on hikes and like go kayaking somewhere, etc. So being in nature helps me deal a lot with burnout, let's say, or high levels of stress. And as I mentioned, like, I do travel whenever I can, and that definitely helps me get back on my feet and come back and reset and start again.
And when you do get back and you're back in business, let's talk about what do you enjoy the most? What are you most passionate about at Hala My Plate?
I would say, like, as I mentioned earlier, like, I love trying new recipes. I love new recipes. I love seeing a meal that's so colorful and nourishing. And that's what we try to incorporate as much as we can in our menus on a weekly basis. So let's say I get inspiration from a cafe I've been to, or when I travel, you know, like, there are some trends that are not yet, in the UAE. So I learn a lot from when I travel, like the places I go to, etc. So I get ideas. Even like online, I follow a lot of like food bloggers and food creators, etc. here and there. So I get ideas from them and I try to implement them at Hala My Plate, using the right ingredients, of course, because I have to approve every ingredient, every product that comes into the kitchen, and make sure that it's healthy and of high quality. So what we do is we test the product together, me and the chefs, we try them, and then we launch them on the menu. And that is normally done, let's say, once or twice a month. We incorporate a new dish, a new salad, a new wrap, etc., a new breakfast item. And then we see what, people's reaction, we get people's feedback. And it's rewarding,
Absolutely.
Especially that, again, as I mentioned, it's not just eat to lose weight. Food has to be joyful. Healthy eating has to be joyful, not fearful. So I also want people to know that by eating Hala My Plate meals, they're enjoying the food as well. It's not a punishment, it's something that you can enjoy and be happy eating, let's say.
So, Hala, do people then come back to you with feedback of things they've, that have gotten better in their lives?
Of course, we have feedback on the food, and then we get feedback, which is a lot more rewarding, on how they've started to feel. A shift in how they feel, how they look, their confidence, their energy levels, etc. So when we hear that just does it for me. I feel like there we go. I've reached something,
You've helped someone.
I've helped someone, and not just one person. I've helped thousands of people
Right.
in the UAE. So that's my goal at the end of the day, not just to provide meals that look pretty and look colorful, to provide meals that help nourish you, make you feel better, give you energy, help you relieve symptoms, help you conceive, etc. So we have people like who have had cancer, we have people with kidney problems, we have people who are trying to conceive, and we've actually succeeded with one.
Amazing.
We have people with IBS who have been following a strict low FODMAP diet for months and have reported feeling great. And there's one client actually who is afraid to travel because he's like, I don't know what to eat other than your food. So these things we love to hear,
Amazing.
and we know that we're just not one mass production kitchen.
Right.
We are a kitchen with, let's say, we tailor meals to a niche market, people who actually want us for a specific reason.
Okay.
And when we hear that we're able to help those people, with whatever goal they have, and then they achieve it, that makes us really happy,
I can imagine.
especially myself.
I bet
Yeah.
you're achieving your mission.
Yes.
Any plans to expand outside the UAE?
Yes, there will be plans,
Okay.
hopefully in the future. However, I really want to try and focus on growing this meal plan business because we have different types of services, and I know that there are many people who are looking for high quality food and looking for meals again to help make them feel better, to help relieve these symptoms, to help rid them of disease. So I feel I want to be able to reach more people in the
Okay.
UAE. I know it's saturated, but Dubai is growing and more people are moving here.
100%.
So there's room for everything still. Okay.
Absolutely.
So I want to be able to grow this business, and we recently launched catering, healthy catering for corporates, for events, etc., which is something that I'm also trying to grow.
I can
at the
vouch for that
moment.
because I've used you myself.
Yes,
We
thank
used you for the launch of Her
Yes,
Voice,
of
which was
course,
amazing.
of course.
And I have to say that at the time, which is probably a mistake on my part, I didn't know that you were a trade license owned client.
Yes.
So I found you purely on Google, and the reason we ended up going for you is because the food was healthy and because I
amazing.
didn't want to serve just croissants. You
Yeah.
you normally go to a networking event and it's croissant, cake.
Donuts, cakes.
Exactly.
Yes.
And I
dough,
thought-
dough here and there.
I wouldn't touch that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try and the collective that we're trying to build with Her Voice. So that's where you came along, and I was so happy
Thank
I found
you.
you because there isn't many that
Thank
offer
you.
that.
Yeah,
there
no,
really isn't.
there isn't.
So that was amazing. Hala, let's talk about being a female founder, and in your experience, what do you think men versus women? What do men rarely experience in business that women do?
I would say having to prove yourself.
Okay.
For me, having to prove myself in an industry that's really not really female led.
Okay.
Let's say, okay. Men don't have to go through this all the time, so you have to
Right.
just work harder and just work to achieve what you want to achieve and to be able to prove yourself and be where you want to be, regardless of what others think of you.
Do you think that landscape is changing? Let's talk about the UAE, not globally, because that's too big of a scale. But do you think the landscape is changing here for women?
I think it is because there are so many people, women out there that are becoming entrepreneurs and that are succeeding, and I find that so many women now are a lot more knowledgeable
Right.
and experienced, let's say, especially when it's something in their something they're passionate about. If you're passionate about something, it doesn't matter what gender you are. If you're passionate about something and you do it right, then that's what matters.
Right.
So I feel that it is changing. I have friends in the coffee industry. I have friends in the event industry. They're all women and they're all doing great for
That's
themselves.
so good to hear.
Yeah,
That's
and we
exactly-
all support each other, and that's what matters. You
absolutely.
don't need anyone external to come and change the way that you think, or change the way you do things the way you do. So as long as you're working on what you want and you have that passion, just go after it.
Right. If you could go back in time, Hala, and tell yourself anything when you started this venture, what would you say to yourself?
I think I would say believe in yourself, trust yourself, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with asking for help.
Right.
You're not supposed to know it all. I used to think I'm supposed to be good at finance, accounting, marketing, PR, nutrition. Then I'm like, why? I don't have to be great at everything. I can just outsource or ask for help. So, and I keep reminding myself that you have to look within and say, wow, you've made it this far. Be proud of yourself, you know?
Absolutely.
So I would really say, in going back, I would say, believe in yourself, trust yourself, and go after your passion.
Did you have many doubts when you started?
Yes, of course.
And setbacks because of those doubts?
Yes, of course. Everyone does, I think. Everyone
That's
does,
true.
you know? And there is absolutely nothing wrong with failing. The one thing you take from it, from failing, is learning.
Right.
So there's nothing wrong with failing and starting all over again. Okay?
You'll always come out on the better side if you failed.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Okay, and then we get back to my final question, which is always my favorite one.
Yes.
So if you could borrow the mindset of any successful entrepreneur for a day, who would it be and why?
I think it would be Sarah Blakely, the
Okay.
founder of Spanx.
Okay.
Why? Because her resilience and creativity made her grow from a very tiny business to a billion-dollar business,
Right.
and without any funding. So she started with around $5,000 in her savings, and
I didn't even know that.
she grew without any funding now into a billion-dollar business. And one day Oprah mentioned her, and I guess that's
Exploded
how
from
she
there.
exploded.
I didn't even know that
You know?
story.
And I can tell you that I never really got funding, and I wouldn't say I'm a big business, but I am where I am today organically. Let's say,
that's
you know,
incredible.
and it's nice. It's nice to feel that way.
I
And
think
I'm
if
not
you
saying
can say that.
and I'm not saying that one day I won't get any funding, but
Right.
but I've been able to sustain the business this far by just being on my own.
And Hala, so what is your question for me?
Okay, Justina, my question for you is, what inspired you to start this podcast and platform for female founders?
Okay, so good question. With Her Voice Collective, we obviously it's powered by Trade License Zone. The initial thought was to start something for women in business. We are big supporters. I'm a huge supporter of women in business. I always have been. I've always wanted to do something for women, whether it's build a community, talk about their voices, have a mentorship type program, which is something we're actually working on.
Nice.
But the idea behind the Female Founders Unfiltered podcast is, you know, I've worked with many women in the leadership sense. I've set up their companies. And as we talked about earlier, the landscape is changing. And I'd love nothing more than for women to have an equal stepping stone always across the world with whatever they do. We know that some industries are very heavily male-led. I want to be able to change that in any way that I can. You know, women are so different to men when it comes to working, and I want to talk about that. And I want to hear every female founder's stories and opinions of how they got to where they are, all this, you know, the troublesome, you know, process that they might have gone through. And I think it's important that men and women hear about it. So it fuels me when I meet a woman who has gone through troubles, but has become successful. It makes me very happy. So
That's amazing.
that's why
Thank you.
I did this.
Thank you.
But Hala, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you
It was
so much for
amazing.
having me here.
It's been incredible to hear your story.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Likewise.
Thank you to everyone for watching. We hope you gained some insights, and we look forward to hosting our next guest.